It was a calm Saturday afternoon at a bright, busy mall. Soft music played from hidden speakers. The smell of fresh pretzels and coffee floated in the air. Families walked in small groups. A few teenagers laughed near the ice cream stand. Salespeople folded shirts and smiled at passers-by. Everything looked normal. Inside this everyday scene, a small story began to grow, step by step, because of one small choice, one quick judgment, and one child who only wanted to go home with a new science kit. Micah was 10 years old, tall for his age, and careful with his things. He had a polite way of speaking because his father had taught him to look people in the eye and use clear words. He wore a simple blue t-shirt and clean sneakers. In his hands, he held a bag with a new science kit, little tubes, a safe powder, a booklet with big pictures. He loved science because it felt like magic that he could explain. His father, Daniel Cole, walked a few steps behind him. Daniel was a quiet man with a steady way of moving, like a person who always kept time in his head. He wore a gray sweater and dark jeans. He did not look like a billionaire. He did not care about looking rich. He cared about looking approachable, especially when he was with his son. At the mall, he let Micah lead the way, so the boy could feel strong and independent. "Stay where I can see you," Daniel said gently when they left the store. He did not raise his voice. He did not need to. Micah nodded and gave a small smile that showed he understood. The boy walked ahead, still close enough that his father could hear the paper bag rustle with each step. They had stopped at a science shop because Micah had worked hard in school that week. His teacher had praised him for helping a classmate with homework. Daniel believed in rewarding effort more than grades. The kit they bought was not expensive, but it meant a lot to the boy. They planned to try the simplest experiment at home that evening. Daniel had already cleared a corner of the kitchen table for it. Near them, a woman in her mid-30s named Emily moved down the same corridor. She had a neat haircut, a light scarf, and a long to-do list running in her head. She had misplaced a bracelet earlier that day, and it had made her tense. She liked order. She liked knowing where everything was. When she lost something, it bothered her more than it should. She also scrolled too much on her phone, where short videos often told scary stories about theft in public places. Emily's mind kept replaying a short clip she had watched the night before. It showed a person walking out of a store with a small branded bag and not paying. The clip had poor lighting, but the bag looked similar to the one Micah now carried. That clip had a bold title with dramatic words. It made everything feel urgent, even when there was no real danger. Emily did not notice this effect inside herself. She just felt the old fear rise again as she looked around the mall. At the end of the corridor, a security guard stood near another store, speaking with a customer about a lost phone. He was busy and far away. A manager from the science shop had returned to the back room to handle an inventory question. The world had a small gap in attention at that moment, the type of gap that is normal in busy places and often harmless. But in that gap, Emily's fear grew louder than facts. Micah stopped near a bright display of children's books. He wanted to read the back of the kit again. He found a list of experiments, safe reactions, color changes, invisible ink. He smiled and whispered to himself, "This is going to be fun." He liked the idea of mixing two clear liquids and seeing a new color appear, like a secret that he could make come true with his own hands. A toddler in a stroller near the display looked at Micah's bag and reached out a tiny hand. The child's mother laughed softly and said, "Not ours, sweetie." Micah shifted to the side to give them space and lifted the bag slightly higher so the toddler could not grab it. It was a simple, thoughtful move. He did not want the child to be upset or the mother to worry. He had good manners. He always tried to be gentle. Emily watched this small moment and misread it. In her head, it matched the video from the night before, even though it did not. The sight of a child stepping aside with a bag should not have meant anything. But fear often colors normal actions and makes them look suspicious. She did not see Micah's kind smile to the toddler. She saw only the bag and the quick movement and her own story that had nothing to do with him. Daniel kept his calm pace a few steps behind. He liked to give his son room but never lost sight of him. He noticed Emily from the corner of his eye, not because of who she was, but because of how she moved. She had the stiff posture of a person who had decided something without checking. He knew that look from business meetings and from airports. He had learned to pay attention when adults moved toward his child with a fixed expression. Micah lowered the bag and turned back toward the main walkway. He wanted to show his father the little picture on the box that promised a simple rainbow test. He opened his mouth to call out, "Dad, look at," but he did not finish the sentence. Emily stepped into his path with a tight face. She did not say hello. She did not ask a polite question first. She used a tone that felt like a wall. "Where did you get that?" she asked. Her voice was sharp, and the question came too fast. Micah blinked, surprised. He did not know her. He looked over her shoulder to find his father, but she leaned in, blocking his view. His eyes grew round with confusion. "I bought it," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. He lifted the bag a little so she could see the store logo. It was a friendly logo with a smiling atom on it. He thought it would help to show it. He wanted to be understood. He had done everything right. He still believed that if he explained clearly, the adult would listen. Emily did not look at the logo. Her eyes stayed on his face and then dropped to the bag and then back to his face again. Her mind had already decided. She could not hear the calm truth in his words. She thought she was doing something responsible, but she was not. She was being guided by a picture in her head that did not match the real moment in front of her. "Don't play games," she said, with a tight, unhappy smile that was not a real smile at all. "Show me the receipt." She reached her hand forward, not grabbing, but close to the bag. Micah took a small step back. He felt his heart bumping in his chest, a fast tap-tap like a small drum. He had never had a stranger speak to him like this in a store. Daniel saw the step back. He saw the hand reach forward. He was still calm, but he moved one step closer. He did not like anyone reaching toward his child. He did not like the tone. He kept his voice in his chest for the moment, not ready to speak yet. He wanted to understand how the woman would act if he gave her a chance to correct herself. Most people can correct themselves if they are given a second to think. Around them, the air changed just a little, the way air changes before a light rain. A couple walking by slowed their steps without meaning to. A teenage boy with headphones shifted his eyes toward the scene. The mother with the stroller pulled the handle gently to increase the space around her child. They were not sure what they were seeing, only that something felt tense and small and important, because a child was involved. "I have the receipt," Micah said, still polite. He reached into his pocket with one hand, while holding the bag with the other. His fingers shook a little, and the paper caught on his pocket edge. He did not want to tear it. He wanted to do everything right. The simple act of finding a slip of paper suddenly felt like a big test. Emily spoke again, even faster. "You need to come with me," she said, as if she had any right to give orders. "We're going back to the store." She pointed behind him, not noticing that the store was only a few steps away and that he had just come out of it with his father. She did not look around. She did not check the facts. She did not ask staff for help. She tried to solve something that was not a problem at all. Daniel reached out his hand toward his son's shoulder, a quiet signal that he was there, that he was close. Micah felt the gentle touch and looked up. Their eyes met for a second, the father's steady gaze, the son's worried one. In that one look, a lot was said without words. It said, "I see you. You are not alone. This is not your fault. Keep breathing." We will handle this. Emily did not see the exchange. She was focused on her idea of the situation. She believed she was helping the store, even though the store had not asked for help. She believed she was protecting order, even though what she was doing was the opposite of calm order. Her breath was shallow. Her throat felt tight. That is what fear does when it is not examined. It makes people act too fast and too hard. A store associate stepped out from the science shop with a box of new kits. He noticed the tension in the air and paused. He looked at Micah, recognized him from the purchase a few minutes earlier, and opened his mouth to speak. But he was still a few steps away, and the sounds of the mall music, talking, footsteps covered his first words. Timing is a strange thing. Sometimes help is only 2 breaths away and still feels far. Micah finally freed the receipt from his pocket. The little paper shook in his hand. He wanted to pass it over, but he also knew this woman was a stranger. He had been taught not to give personal items to strangers. He had been taught to find an adult he trusted, like a parent or a store worker, when something felt wrong. He stood very still, unsure how to balance politeness and safety in that moment. Daniel's calm moved one step closer to the center of the scene. He drew a breath, slow and deep, and let it out. He was ready to speak, ready to guide this moment back to sense. But before he said a word, Emily lifted her hand in a quick, impatient gesture, as if the air itself stood in her way. It was a fast, careless motion that came from frustration, not from thought. The air seemed to hold its breath. Micah's eyes followed the motion without understanding it. Daniel's eyes did too, but with full understanding. He saw more than the motion. He saw where this could go if he did not act carefully. The security guard at the far end turned his head, as if he had heard a bell. The store associate took another quick step forward, box in his arms. In that exact second, the world was a thin line, a child, a bag, a hurried hand, a father one step behind, and a crowd that could tilt the scene toward fear or toward calm. It would take only one wise choice to turn the moment in a better direction. Daniel was ready to make that choice. Micah stood very still, trusting the quiet he knew in his father's voice. And the mall, with its music and pretzels and weekend plans, waited for the next breath to decide what kind of story this would be. Emily's hand came up in a quick, impatient motion, like someone waving away a fly. It was not thought through. It was a fast, frustrated move born from a story in her head that did not match the real scene. Before the motion could land anywhere, Daniel stepped forward with calm speed and placed his hand gently on her forearm, steady and sure. He did not squeeze. He did not yank. He simply created a soft boundary in the air and lowered her arm a few inches. His voice was steady and low, the kind that quiets noise. "Please don't touch my child," he said. The words were simple, but they carried weight because of how he said them: clear, calm, not angry, not shaky. People nearby turned their heads. A few phones rose, small black rectangles clicking on, because that is what people do these days when something looks tense. The air felt tight for a heartbeat. Then Daniel did something that changed the energy. He turned slightly, placing his body between Emily and Micah, not in a dramatic way, but like a door that closes gently to keep wind out. Micah watched his father's face and copied his breathing without realizing it. Daniel breathed in slowly through his nose and let the breath out through his mouth, a soft count in his mind: 4 in, 4 out. Micah did the same. The paper receipt in his hand stopped shaking so much. He held onto that small, normal thing like it was a handle he could use to stay steady. Emily blinked, surprised that the father was right there, surprised that her quick motion had been seen and stopped so gently. She pulled her arm back to her side. For a brief second, she seemed to see the scene from outside herself: a boy with a small bag, a quiet father, a public space filled with families. Her jaw softened, but only a little. The story in her head still pushed against the facts in front of her. "I'm trying to help the store," she said, too fast. "This looks wrong." Daniel did not argue with her story. He kept his focus on what would keep the child safe and the moment calm. He turned his head slightly toward the science shop, saw the associate with the box of kits, and raised his hand in a small wave. "Excuse me," Daniel called to the associate, voice even, "could we please get a manager and a private space to speak? My son and I would like to clear this up quietly." The associate nodded at once. He recognized Micah as the boy who had just paid. He also knew that tense scenes can spiral in public if not moved to a calmer place. He hurried inside to call the manager and security, not because anything dangerous had happened, but because a child's comfort deserved quick, careful attention. Daniel lowered his eyes to Micah's level for a moment and spoke softly, just for him. "You're okay," he said. "Stand with me. Hold the receipt. We'll take care of this together." Micah nodded, swallowing. He could feel the steady wall of his father's presence next to him. It felt like standing behind a strong tree in light wind. He looked down at the bag with the smiling Adam logo and reminded himself, "I paid for this. I did nothing wrong. I am safe." A few bystanders whispered. One person said, "What happened?" Another said, "I think something about the bag." The mother with the stroller took a small step forward and spoke in a kind voice. "He was just making space for us," she said to no one in particular, as if the words themselves were a soft cloth to wipe off confusion. "He was polite." Emily's eyes flicked toward the mother and then back to Daniel. Her tone lost some edge, but her pride kept her posture stiff. "Some people pretend to buy things," and then Daniel held up a hand gently, not to silence her, but to guide the moment. "Let's not make this a show," he said, still calm. "There's a manager on the way. We'll look at the receipt and the cameras in private. My son does not need an audience." The security guard, finished with the lost phone case, now walked toward them with a professional stride. His name tag read Luis. He had practiced de-escalation for years and could feel the difference between scenes that needed quick physical action and scenes that needed soft words and good choices. He could see this was the second kind. "Good afternoon," Luis said. "I'm here to help. Let's move to the store office so we can all talk in a quiet place." Daniel nodded. "Thank you," he said. Then to Micah, he added softly, "We're going to step inside the store. Stay next to me." The associate returned with a manager, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a quick, capable walk. She carried a small key ring and a calm face. "Hi, I'm Mara," she said. "Let's go to the back office. We'll take a breath and sort this out." They formed a small group, Daniel and Micah side by side, the associate guiding, the manager a step ahead to open doors, Luis a quiet presence nearby, and Emily a few steps back, looking smaller now that official help was here. The phones lowered as the small crowd realized the scene was moving away. The mall's light music flowed back into the space they left behind, and footsteps resumed their normal rhythms. Inside the science shop, the bright colors of learning kits and robots felt like a different world. The office was a tiny room with a desk, a chair, a water cooler, and a small monitor on the wall. There was a glass panel on the door, but the manager pulled down a little shade to give privacy. The sound of the mall faded to a soft hum. This was a better place for a child to breathe. "Please, have a seat," Mara said, offering the chair to Micah first. "Would you like some water?" Micah nodded. He did not trust his voice yet. Daniel smiled at him. "Yes, please," Daniel said. "Thank you." Luis positioned himself near the door, not blocking it, just being there in a way that said everything was under control. He knew that small signals matter in moments like this: the cup of water, the offered seat, the shade on the glass, the even tone. These signals tell the body that there is time to think and time to listen. Daniel handed the receipt to Micah and let Micah pass it to the manager. It was a small act, but it gave the boy back a sense of agency. He was not a problem to be moved around. He was a person who had done the right thing, and his small action handing over proof was part of the solution. Mara read the receipt, checked the timestamp, and glanced at the associate, who nodded. "I remember them paying," the associate said. "I rang them up 2 minutes ago, maybe 3. "Thank you," Daniel said to the associate, warm but still steady. Then he looked at Emily, and his eyes were kind but firm. "We're going to check the cameras to confirm. In the meantime, I want to center my son." He was frightened. "Please keep your voice calm and your distance respectful." Emily pressed her lips together. She had not meant to scare a child. She had meant to be responsible, but now that word felt shaky inside her. She folded her hands in front of her and tried to slow her breathing. Louise took a small step so that if she moved without thinking, he could redirect her with just a quiet gesture. He had done this many times. Most people were able to settle once they realized facts were taking the lead. Daniel crouched a little so he was level with Micah. "How's your chest?" he asked softly. "Still tight?" "A little," Micah said. "Let's do the 4 breaths," Daniel said. "You know it?" They breathed together, 4 in, 4 out twice. Micah's shoulders lowered a bit, and some color returned to his face. He took a sip of water and wiped a small drop from his chin with the back of his hand. The simple actions felt like anchors. Mara turned to the small monitor. "We'll pull up the camera at the register," she said. "It records all transactions." "I'll need a minute." She typed calmly. The screen showed a grid of small windows, aisles, entrance, counter. She clicked on the counter view and rewound to a few minutes earlier. Before she pressed play, Daniel spoke in a voice meant for the whole room, still gentle but now a little more structured. "Before we look," he said, "I'd like to make one request. Whatever the video shows, let's remember there is a child in the room. Micah deserves to hear calm words first. No raised voices. No blame. Facts first, feelings second, action third. Is everyone okay with that?" "Yes," Mara said at once. "Yes," Louise said. The associate nodded quickly. Emily hesitated, then gave a small nod, too. "Yes," she said, more to herself than to anyone else. "Thank you," Daniel said. He placed a hand on the back of Micah's chair, steady as ever. "Micah, you did everything right. You paid, you kept your receipt, you stayed polite, and you asked for help when you felt unsafe. I'm proud of you." Micah's eyes shone a little. He didn't cry. He didn't need to. The warm words were enough. They wrapped around him like a soft blanket. Mara pressed play. The screen showed Daniel and Micah at the counter, the associate scanning the kit, Daniel tapping his card, the receipt printing, Micah taking the small bag. It was all so normal that it almost felt silly to watch. But normal is powerful when the truth needs a firm ground. "Okay," Mara said, pausing the video. "We have confirmation of the purchase just now. The time matches the receipt." Her voice stayed soft. She turned to Micah first. "Micah, I'm sorry you were frightened in our store area. You did everything right. Thank you for your patience." Micah nodded. The apology given at his eye level mattered. It told him that the adults saw him, not just the problem. Daniel inclined his head, appreciative of the tone. He did not gloat. He did not push. He just held the moment steady. "Thank you for starting with him," he said. "That means a lot." Emily stood very still. The truth on the screen was simple and clear. The story in her head was not the story in front of her. She felt a warm flush rise in her cheeks. She swallowed. Words lined up and then fell apart in her mouth. She glanced at Micah and then away. Luis kept his voice neutral. "We have the facts," he said. "Now we can talk about next steps calmly." Mara took a slow breath. "We'll document this carefully," she said. "I'd also like to make sure Micah and Daniel leave feeling safe and respected. We can discuss how to improve our response so that customers don't feel they have to intervene. Our staff should handle concerns." Daniel nodded again. "That's a good place to start," he said. He placed his palm flat on the desk, not as a demand, but as a sign that the point mattered. "We can talk about training, signs, and how to center a child's comfort when a misunderstanding happens." He looked to Micah, then to Mara, then to Luis, keeping the triangle of attention balanced and kind. The room felt different now, less tight, more focused, like a puzzle that could be solved with time and care. The next steps would be about accountability and learning. But for now, the most important thing was already true: the facts were clear, the boy was safe, and the adults were finally speaking the same language. Mara reached for a small form and a pen. "I'll write an incident report," she said. "It will include what happened and what we plan to change. We'll also note that Micah was apologized to first and that a private space was used to reduce stress. That should be our standard." Daniel's shoulder eased a little. The ground under the moment felt solid. He glanced at the door with the shade and listened to the soft hum of the mall beyond it. "Thank you," he said, once more. "Let's finish this with care." The small screen still showed the paused image of a father and son paying for a science kit, a quiet truth frozen in pixels. It was enough, for now. The real work, the learning, the repair, the better choices would follow. The room felt calmer now that the video had shown the simple truth. The small office seemed a little bigger, like someone had opened a window even though nothing had changed on the walls. Micah sat straighter in the chair. The cup of water on the desk was half full. His hands no longer shook. He looked at his father and received a small nod that said, without words, "You did well." Mara, the manager, kept her voice warm and steady. She turned back to the monitor, copied the timestamp, and wrote a clear note on the incident form. She put Micah's name first on the page, not the problem. She wrote, "Child customer completed purchase at 2:14 p.m. Misunderstanding followed in corridor. Child safety and comfort prioritized." She underlined the word child. It was a simple choice, but it shaped the way the story would be remembered. Luis, the security guard, spoke gently. "We have two things to do," he said. "One is to make sure Micah leaves here feeling safe. The second is to record what happened and plan changes so it does not happen again. I can also explain legal options, but that is not my first focus unless you want it to be." Daniel gave a small smile that was grateful but still composed. "Thank you," he said. "Let's start with safety and learning. Legal options can be discussed after we have a plan for repair. My son is the center of this." Emily stood near the wall. The bright colors from the store shelves out in the aisle seemed far away now. She stared at the floor for a second, then lifted her eyes. She looked at Micah, then at Daniel, then back at the form in the manager's hands. She took a breath that felt heavy and said, carefully, "I am sorry." Daniel glanced at her and then at Micah. His voice was gentle, but he was exact with his request. "Please speak to Micah first," he said. "He is the one who was frightened." Emily stepped closer but kept a respectful distance. She kept her hands still at her sides. She bent a little so her eyes were level with Micah's, and she chose her words slowly, like placing stones one by one across a small stream. "Micah," she said, using his name because the manager had used it, "I am sorry that I scared you. I made a wrong assumption. You did nothing wrong. I should have spoken to staff, not to you. I hope you can feel safe again soon." Micah looked at her for a moment. He did not know what to do with her apology, but he could hear that the words were careful and honest. He gave a small nod. "Okay," he said softly. He turned his eyes to his father. Daniel gave another small nod that said, "You don't have to carry this." Mara added a line to the form, "Apology given to child by intervening customer, witnessed by staff." Then she looked up. "We also need to decide on next steps," she said. "We can offer a refund or gift, but I know that does not fix the deeper issue." Daniel's voice stayed even. "A refund is not necessary," he said. "Micah wanted this kit, and he paid for it properly. What helps most is a better process. I suggest 3 things. 1. Signs that say if you're worried, tell staff do not confront. 2. Staff training that includes child-first language and de-escalation. 3. A goal to move any tense conversation into a private space within 2 minutes, so children are not surrounded by a crowd." Mara listened like a person receiving useful tools. "That's concrete," she said, writing the list. "Signs, training, and a 2-minute move to privacy. We can do that." She looked at Louise. "We can set a radio code for this. If a child is involved, call for office assist and clear a path." "Yes." Louise nodded. "Yes. And I'll add that our team can practice short sentences that calm the room. For example, 'We're moving to a quiet area to keep everyone comfortable.' That line tells bystanders to lower their cameras and gives permission for calm." The associate, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "We also need a script for us at the counter," he said. "If we see a situation growing, we walk out right away and say, 'Hi, I can help you with any questions about our products or customers.' That simple presence can change the whole mood." Daniel thanked him with his eyes. "That's good," he said. "Presence is power when it is calm and respectful." Emily swallowed. She felt both shame and relief. She wanted to say more, but she also knew that too many words would put the focus back on her. She decided to make a simple offer instead. "I am willing to write what I did wrong and what I learned," she said. "If it helps your training, you can use it." Mara considered this and nodded. "That would be helpful," she said. "Hearing it from a customer might reach other customers better than a rule on a wall." Louise looked at Daniel. "For the record," he said, "professional but kind, there is an option to file a formal complaint. You have every right to do that. If you want to, I'll help. If not, we will still keep a full report here." Daniel took a breath. He did not rush. "Thank you," he said. "At this time, I don't want to pursue charges. If we see a pattern later, we can revisit. Today, we prioritize learning and repair." Luis wrote his note, offered legal pathway, parent declined for now, focus on restorative steps. He underlined restorative. Mara turned the form so Daniel could see the promised actions. "I will post the signs by next Friday," she said. "I'll hold a staff training next week and send you a summary. And I'll implement the 2-minute privacy move starting today. May I have your contact so I can update you?" Daniel took a card from his wallet and placed it gently on the desk. It was a simple card, white with clean letters. It read, "Daniel Cole, Cole Methodiques," with a phone and email underneath. It did not announce his wealth. It did not need to. The name was known to some. The associate's eyes widened. Mara raised her eyebrows just a little, then reset her face to neutral. "Thank you, Mr. Cole," she said. "I appreciate your guidance. I'll make sure we make these changes fast." Daniel nodded once. "I'm not here to make the store look bad," he said. "I am here because my child deserves safety and dignity. If our conversation helps more kids, that's the real value." Emily looked at the card and then at Daniel, truly seeing him for the first time. She had not recognized him before. Now she remembered reading about a scholarship program in his name, science kits donated to schools, and community centers with quiet corners for homework. A soft, painful understanding moved through her. She had tried to protect a store and had instead hurt a child whose family gave to the very kind of learning she admired. The lesson pressed in deeper. Mara opened a drawer and pulled out a fresh incident packet. "I'd like to document that apology was given to the child first," she said again, as if practicing a habit she wanted to keep. "We will make that a standard in every case where a child is involved." She wrote it like a rule: apologize to the child first. Daniel rested his fingertips on the desk, a light touch that held attention without force. "Before we leave," he said, "I want to give Micah a choice." He turned to his son. "We can go home now, or we can walk out to the corridor again together, just for a minute, so your brain can see that place with calm feelings instead of fear. We'll stand there, breathe, and leave on our own terms. What do you want?" Micah thought about it. He looked at the little shade on the door window. He could hear the faint music and the soft thrum of footsteps outside. He imagined that spot where everything had felt tight. He pictured standing there with his father and then walking away. It felt like a small, brave thing. "I want to stand there for a minute," he said. "With you?" Daniel smiled. "Okay," he said. "We'll do that." Before they moved, Emily spoke again, keeping her eyes down to show respect. "Mr. Cole," she said, "I hope I can be part of the repair. If you think it helps, I can meet with the staff training group and say what I did wrong." Daniel considered it. "That may help the store," he said. "But the most important repair is between you and yourself. The moment before you act next time, please use 3 steps: pause, ask, verify. Say it out loud if you need to. Pause. Ask a staff member. Verify facts. Never direct your fear at a child." Emily repeated the words quietly. Pause. Ask. Verify. She wanted them to live in her mouth so they could jump out when she needed them. "I will do that." Mara looked at Louise. "We can put those 3 words on the sign," she said. "Short and clear." "Agreed," Louise said. "Short words are easy to remember." Mara handed Daniel a copy of the incident form and placed another in a file. "I'll send you the timeline by email tonight," she said. "If anything slips, I want you to hold me accountable." Daniel nodded. He did not smile much in life, but this time his expression softened into one. "Accountability is a kind of kindness," he said. "It keeps us honest with ourselves." They stood. Louise opened the door and held it without rush. The associate remained behind the counter, watching with hopeful eyes. Mara walked them to the threshold and stopped there to give space. Emily stayed in the office, not because she was banished, but because the quiet in the corridor belonged to a father and son now. Daniel and Micah stepped into the light and sound of the mall again. They walked to the exact spot where the air had felt tight. They stood still, side by side. Daniel placed a gentle hand on Micah's shoulder and said softly, "We'll take 4 breaths here." They did. People walked by, seeing nothing special, just a parent and a child standing together for a moment. On the 4th breath, Micah's chest felt open. The place looked normal again: floor tiles, a poster for a weekend sale, that same soft music, a stroller rolling past. The world had not changed, but the feeling had. The fear had a smaller shape now. "Ready?" Daniel asked. "Ready," Micah said. They turned toward the exit, their steps matched, easy and quiet. They did not rush. They did not look back. The bag with the smiling atom logo swung lightly in Micah's hand. It was just a bag again, holding a small kit and a promise of a safe experiment at home. Behind them, in the small office, Mara typed an email with the subject line, Immediate changes child first protocol. Luis drafted a short guide for his team, move to privacy. Calm words. Center the child. Offer water. Keep hands gentle. The associate printed a quick sign to tape at the register, if you're worried, we will help. Please call staff. Do not confront customers directly. It was only paper, but it was a start. Emily sat in the chair Micah had used and opened a blank note on her phone. She began to write, I was stressed. I assumed. I acted too fast. Here is what I should have done, she wrote about fear and facts. She wrote about the 3 words. She wrote that you never point your fear at a child. She did not know yet who would read it, but she knew she needed to see it in clear, simple lines first. A different kind of power had filled the room that day, quiet, steady, careful. It did not push. It did not shame. It asked for truth, made space for repair, and kept a child at the center. It did not need to announce who Daniel was. It lived in how he spoke, what he prioritized, and what he asked the adults in the room to become. And because of that power, the story was already changing shape from harm, to lesson, to plan. You said, Part 4, KO expand Crow without heading 1300 words my in simple English words. It should be interesting, and every part should be engaging so the audience doesn't get bored. And don't use any violated word. Obviate any violated content. ChatGPT said, thought for 13 seconds. The door to the small office closed softly behind Daniel and Micah, and the mall's noise wrapped around them again like a light blanket. They did not rush. They walked toward the exit with steady steps, letting the normal sounds, music, footsteps, soft chatter wash over the tension that had lived in that space an hour earlier. Outside, a breeze moved the mall banners. The day was still the same day, but something inside the story had shifted, facts had been seen, words had been spoken, and a child's calm had been placed at the center. Later that evening, a short video clip taken by a bystander began to spread online. It was only 10 seconds long and showed just the tight moment, a woman stepping toward a boy, a father moving between them, and a small crowd turning their heads. The clip did not include the calm voices, the office, the water cup, or the apology. It didn't show the pause, ask, verify lesson or the plan for change. The comments started fast and loud, as they often do. Some people rushed to blame. Some people rushed to defend. A few asked for more context, but the online wind pushed the loud voices to the top. Daniel saw the clip late that night when a friend texted him a link. He watched it once, then put his phone face down on the table. He took the same slow breath he had used in the mall, 4 in, 4 out, and let the feeling pass through him. He did not want a storm. He wanted light and repair. He opened his laptop and wrote a short public note. It was not dramatic. It was not long. It did not name Emily. It did not invite a fight. It did one simple thing, it put a child's safety and dignity first. Today my son experienced a frightening misunderstanding in a public place, he wrote. We chose calm, facts, and repair. If you see something that worries you, please follow 3 short steps, pause. Ask a staff member. Verify. Never direct your fear at a child. The store manager handled the situation with care. We are working together on signs, staff training, and a rule to move tense conversations to a private space within 2 minutes. Our goal is simple: protect kids, teach adults, and keep our community kind. He added one more line: please do not turn this into a public shaming. Let's turn it into a public learning. He posted it and closed the laptop again. Then he walked to Micah's room, where the boy slept with the science kit on his desk. He placed a hand on his son's back for a moment and felt the slow, steady rise and fall. He whispered, "You are safe," and left the door open a crack. By morning, the store manager, Mara, had posted her own note on the store's page. She apologized directly to Micah by name and thanked him for his patience. She wrote plainly about the new steps, a sign at the entrance: if you are worried, please tell staff. Do not confront customers. Safety and dignity matter, and a child-first training for staff. She promised to move any tense situation into a private space within 2 minutes, with water offered, gentle voices, and clear facts. She also quoted Daniel's 3 words: pause, ask, verify, and said they would be printed on all signs. Luis, the security guard, shared a simple message with his team. He called it Quiet Strength Basics. It had 5 lines: move to privacy. Use calm words. Center the child. Offer water. Keep hands gentle. He posted it in the security office where everyone could see it before each shift. He also suggested a short drill: twice a day, staff would practice walking from the front counter to the office, pulling down the shade, offering water, and starting with the sentence, "We're going to talk in a quiet space," to keep everyone comfortable. That same morning, Emily sat at her kitchen table with a pen and a blank page. The house was quiet. The bracelet she had lost, she found it inside a jacket pocket the night before, sat beside her like a small, solid lesson. She began to write the letter she had promised. She addressed it to Micah first. The words were simple, because simple words carry truth. She wrote that she was sorry she frightened him, that she was wrong to act without facts, and that next time she would follow the 3 steps: pause, ask a staff member, verify. She asked Mara if her written note could be used in staff training and even in public, if it would help other customers think before acting. She signed her name and added, "I will do better." At school on Monday, Micah's teacher noticed he was quieter than usual. She asked if he wanted to visit the counselor for a quick check-in. Micah said yes. In the counselor's room, a gentle woman named Miss Rahman gave him a small string with 4 knots in it. "This is a breathing string," she said. "1 knot for each breath in, 1 knot for each breath out. 4 in, 4 out. You can keep it in your pocket." Micah nodded and wrapped his fingers around the string. They talked for 10 minutes. He said he felt better. He said his dad had helped him stand in the same place and breathe. He said he wanted to do his science kit at home tonight. "That sounds perfect," Miss Rahman said. "Science is patient. It waits for calm hands." On Tuesday, the mall printed and posted Daniel's 3 words on small signs at every entrance. Pause. Ask. Verify. The signs were plain, not flashy. A little line at the bottom added, "Please do not confront children. Find staff. We are here to help." Parents noticed the signs and shared photos with thankful notes. "This makes me feel safer bringing my kids," one wrote. A grocery store across town saw the post and asked Mara for a copy of the policy. "We want to use it, too," their manager said. The 2-minute move to privacy is smart. Daniel received many messages from reporters that week. He said no to most. To one local station, he said yes, but with 2 conditions: they would not show Micah's face, and the focus would be on practices, not on blame. The reporter agreed. They filmed in the mall after hours. Daniel stood with Mara and Luis. They showed the sign. They walked from the counter to the office in real time. The camera took 9 slow steps with them. The reporter asked Daniel why he didn't name the woman. Daniel answered, "Because public shaming does not teach as well as public learning. We all make mistakes. The point is to learn how to make fewer, and how to repair the ones we make." That evening, he and Micah finally opened the science kit on the kitchen table. They lined up the little tubes, read the booklet, and measured drops with care. When the clear liquids turned a soft color, Micah laughed, the sound bright and easy. Daniel felt the warm rush that comes to a parent when a child's joy returns. He snapped a quick photo, not to share online, just to remember, and later sent a copy to Mara with a simple caption, This is the moment we wanted to protect. Mara replied with a heart and wrote, "Thank you for trusting us to change." On Thursday, the library hosted a small community forum called Kindness in Crowded Places. Daniel did not want to be the only voice. He invited Mara, Luis, and, after careful thought and a private conversation, Emily. It was not a stage for blame. It was a circle of chairs. About 30 people came: parents, shop workers, teens, and 2 grandparents who came every week for the chess club. The moderator, a soft-spoken librarian with a green sweater, set the tone: "We are here to learn how to do better next time." Mara spoke first about the steps the store had taken, the signs, the training, the 2-minute move, the apology to the child first. Luis talked about what calm looks like in a body, how to hold your hands, how to use words that lower the temperature, how to step to the side to give room. Daniel shared the 3 words and told the group how he wanted the focus on practice, not punishment. Then Emily stood. She did not defend herself. She read a short paragraph from her letter, voice steady even as her hands trembled slightly. "I was stressed. I assumed. I acted too fast. I forgot that the person in front of me was a child. Next time I will pause, ask staff, and verify. I hope my mistake can help others slow down." A teenager raised his hand and said he was the one who had posted the short clip. He said he had not stayed to see what happened next. He said he would edit his post to add the store's statement and the 3 words. "I didn't know the full story," he said. "I want to fix what I can." Daniel thanked him. "Repair is stronger than shame," he said. "Thank you for trying again." The forum ended with a simple role play. 2 chairs stood in the front. The librarian asked for volunteers. Luis played concerned customer. Mara played store staff. Emily played bystander. Daniel held the 3-word card like a small sign. They acted out a scene with quiet voices. Luis said, "I'm worried about something." Mara replied, "Thank you for telling me. I will handle it. Please give us space." Emily said to the watching circle, "Let's step back and keep the path clear." Daniel lifted the card and read, "Pause. Ask. Verify." People smiled. The chess grandparents clapped gently. The role play ended with everyone breathing more easily. As the week went on, the ripples spread. Another store in the mall printed the signs. A nearby community center asked Daniel to share the 2-minute move with their volunteers. The city's small business group added child-first language to their next newsletter with clear examples. Say, "Let's help this child feel safe," instead of "What did you do?" Say, "We'll look at the facts," instead of "Prove it now." The changes were small and simple, but that was their strength. Small and simple rules fit in a pocket and come out when they are needed. At home, Micah slept through the night by the end of the week. He kept the breathing string in his jeans pocket and sometimes held it when he walked into a busy place. In class, he made a little poster for the bulletin board with bright marker letters: "Be kind, be calm, be curious." His teacher asked if he wanted to share why he chose those words. He said, "Kind helps people feel safe. Calm helps people think. Curious helps people check the facts." The class nodded. One boy said, "Those are good mall rules." Everyone laughed a little, and the laughter felt light, not sharp. Mara sent Daniel an email titled "Update Week 1." She listed the steps completed, signs posted, training held, drill practiced twice daily, new sentence used at the register, apology script written, start with the child, and a simple monthly report template ready. She ended with, "Please keep holding us to this. We want to be the store that protects kids and teaches adults." Daniel wrote back, "Thank you for moving fast with care. Let's review in 2 weeks." Then he added a question: "Would you be open to a small pilot called Look Again, a 30-minute session for nearby shops on pause, ask, verify, plus the 2-minute move?" I'll fund the printing of the cards and signs. Mara replied, yes. Let's do it. They set a date at the library meeting room. Louise offered to lead the short drill in the hallway. Emily said she would record a 1-minute audio clip that training groups could play, a straight, honest description of how fear can mislead and how to choose a better next step. She practiced her lines until they were clear. I was wrong. This is what I will do differently. Please learn from my mistake. On the evening before the pilot, Daniel and Micah walked back through the mall for a pretzel and a quick look at the new signs. They stood again in the corridor where the air had once felt tight. Now a small poster near the bench read, if you are worried, tell staff. Please do not confront customers. Pause. Ask. Verify. A family sat on the bench, sharing a smoothie and a laugh. The world looked ordinary in the best way. Micah pointed to the store window where a small display showed kid-friendly science kits with a little card beside them, science is patient. So are we. He smiled. They used our words, he said. Daniel's eyes warmed. They did, he said. Sometimes the right words can change what happens next. They bought the pretzel and walked slowly, not because they had to, but because they could. The day moved around them: bags, shoes, music, small choices. The story was not about a storm anymore. It was about what people do after the rain: dry the floor, put up a sign, explain the sky to a child, and teach each other to look again before they act. The next part would be about keeping those promises, not just in a store, but in a community that had decided to be a little more careful, a little more human, and a lot more kind. 2 weeks later, the mall felt different in small, steady ways that most people would not notice unless they were looking. There were new signs at the doors and at the counters. There were short phrases on tiny cards that staff kept in their pockets. Managers did not wait for problems to grow, they moved with quiet feet and calm faces. None of it was loud. None of it was meant to impress. It was meant to protect. It was meant to give children space to be children and adults time to think before acting. That was the point: a softer, smarter way to share public space. Daniel kept his promise to review the changes, not as a critic but as a partner. On a bright Thursday morning, he met Mara at a small table near the science shop. The mall was not crowded yet. A few walkers did laps for exercise. A coffee cart hissed steam. Mara arrived with a folder, a simple checklist, and a friendly, focused look. Thank you for coming, she said. I have updates. Daniel nodded, grateful for her clear tone. He liked people who spoke plainly and did what they said they would do. Mara opened the folder and showed him the timeline. Signs had gone up on schedule. Staff had practiced the 2-minute move to privacy every day, morning and afternoon. They had created a short script so everyone said the same words in tense moments: we're going to step into a quiet space to keep everyone comfortable. Security had added 5 phrases to use in the corridor that made cameras lower and shoulders relax. They had even printed the 3 words: pause, ask, verify on the back of employee badges so no one would forget. We also started a simple monthly report, Mara said, tapping a page. It shows fewer confrontations and faster responses since the change. Daniel read the report with careful eyes. It was modest but meaningful. In 2 weeks, there had been 3 situations where customers felt worried and went to staff instead of stepping toward another customer. In all 3, staff moved the conversation into private space within 2 minutes and resolved it with facts. 2 involved simple misunderstandings about bags and receipts. 1 involved a child who was lost and scared. Staff gave water and called the parent calmly instead of asking the child hard questions. This is good, Daniel said, looking up. Small numbers, big difference. Luis joined them for a moment, uniform neat, posture relaxed. He added a detail that did not fit on a report: we've started praising people in the moment when they choose the better path. If a customer comes to us with a concern, we say, "Thank you for bringing this to staff." That keeps everyone safe. People need to hear when they did the right thing. Daniel appreciated that. Praise teaches as much as rules. Emily kept her promise, too. She had recorded a 1-minute audio clip that Mara played at the start of every short training. The words were simple and honest. She said she was stressed, she assumed, she acted too fast. She said the 3 words out loud: pause, ask, verify, and then added a 4th idea: center the child. She explained how easy it is to forget that a young person is still learning the world. She asked adults to make that learning safer, not scarier. The clip ended with, "I will do better. Please, do it with me." Staff said the voice helped. It made the lesson human. Micah's life was normal again, which was the best outcome of all. He used the small breathing string Miss Rahman had given him less and less. Sometimes he touched it in his pocket when the school hallway became loud, but mostly he just moved through his days like any other kid: homework, soccer at recess, a joke with a friend that made them both smile too much to stop. He and his father finished every experiment in the kit and then chose a new one for the next month. On the first Saturday of spring, the community center held a small science fair. Micah stood behind a table with his tubes and labels, careful notes, and a clean cloth to wipe any drops. He explained calmly how 2 clear liquids turned to color because of a simple, safe reaction. His voice was clear. His hands were steady. He won a small ribbon that said "Curious and Careful," which he liked even more than first place. Daniel did not make the story about his name or his money. A few reporters tried to push it that way, but he had a simple reply: "The focus is on safe practices and kind choices." He said yes to interviews only when they centered science, training, and child-first language. He said no when the questions drifted toward personal details. He made sure any public conversation began with the sentence, "A child's safety and dignity come first." He repeated the 3 words until they were easy to remember even if you had not been there: pause, ask, verify. He smiled when he saw the words printed on a small sticker in the library and on a clipboard in a shoe store. Good ideas have a way of traveling. A bus driver saw a photo of the mall sign and asked if the transit office could use the same language to handle small conflicts at the front of the bus. A museum borrowed the 2-minute move to privacy for any upset guest. A grocery store added a short line to their training: if a child is involved, soften your voice and lower your angle, speak at their level. None of this was fancy. It was quiet work, the kind that happens between ordinary people who care about how public places feel. Mara kept sending updates. In her second report, she added comments from families. "I felt safe asking for help," one parent wrote. "Thank you for not letting this become a show," another said. A teenager wrote, "I was going to record, but the staff words made me put my phone down." It felt respectful. The numbers kept improving. Confrontations fell. Manager response times got faster. The office shade was pulled down 3 times that month, not because something dramatic was happening, but because adults wanted to protect small hearts from big noise. Daniel and Micah did something practical with their piece, too. One evening, while putting the kit back on the shelf, Micah said, "Can we give these to other kids?" Daniel had been waiting for that question, because generosity was a habit he loved to build. They talked to Mara and set up a simple plan: for every 10 kits sold, the store would donate 1 to the community center, and Daniel would match it. Micah helped pack the first box: 10 clean kits, 10 little instruction booklets, and 10 notes that said, "Science is patient. So are you." The community center posted a picture of kids opening the boxes with wide eyes, and Micah felt a warm pride that was not loud, just steady. One afternoon, Daniel returned to the store for a final check-in with Mara. They sat again at the small table. The mall was busier this time, but the energy felt gentle, like water moving around small stones. Mara showed him a laminated card for bystanders, titled "Look Again." It fit in a pocket or a wallet. On one side, pause. Ask a staff member. Verify facts. On the other, center the child. Move to privacy. Use calm words. Offer water. She had placed a small stack next to the register with a sign, "Take one. Keep our space kind." People actually picked them up. Some tucked them behind their phone cases. Others snapped a photo. A boy asked for one for his mom. "She gets nervous," he said. "This will help her remember." They were talking when Luis got a call on his radio and stepped away. He returned 5 minutes later with a quiet smile and gave a short, gentle report. A customer had felt worried about a teen who looked like he might leave with a hat. The customer brought the concern to staff, who thanked him. They approached the teen with relaxed shoulders and kind eyes, moved to a quiet corner, and learned the truth: the teen had put his own hat in the store's bag to keep it safe while he tried on shoes. They laughed together, cleared the confusion, and went on with their day. "It could have been a scene," Luis said, "but it became a conversation." Daniel nodded. That was the whole dream in one small story. Micah still had questions, because kids hold big thoughts in small bodies. One night, he sat on the sofa and asked, "Dad, why did that lady act like that at first?" Daniel thought for a moment and answered in the same simple way he had used at the mall. "Sometimes adults feel fear or stress, and they forget to slow down," he said. "When people don't slow down, they can make mistakes about others. Our job is to protect ourselves and also help the world learn a better way." Micah looked at his breathing string on the table and rolled it between his fingers. "Like pause, ask, verify," he said. Daniel smiled. "Exactly." Emily grew in quiet ways, too. She kept helping at trainings, but she did not make it about herself. She learned to catch her first thought and let it float for a few seconds before moving. She wrote a short note for her fridge: "Slow is safe." When she saw a child near a display, she gave space and softened her eyes. She even caught another customer moving too fast one day and said gently, "Let's find staff together." It was not dramatic. It was simply better. She felt lighter walking through crowded places because she trusted her new steps. She trusted herself to look again. By the end of the month, the mall posted a small banner near the corridor where the air had once felt tight. It was not huge or shiny. It was friendly and clear: "We keep this space kind. If you are worried, tell staff. Please do not confront. Pause. Ask. Verify." Underneath in smaller letters, "Thank you for helping kids feel safe." People passed the banner with strollers, shopping bags, and weekend plans. Most didn't stop to read, but the words still worked like a soft guardrail. When tension rose, it met those words first. Daniel and Mara met one last time to close the loop on the promises they had made. They checked each item on the list. Signs posted, yes. Training held, yes. 2-minute move, practiced and used. Child first language, adopted in scripts and posted at the register. Monthly report, published. Bystander cards, printed and taken. "You did what you said," Daniel said. "Thank you for moving with care." Mara smiled, tired but proud. "Thank you for insisting on the right focus," she replied. "Center the child." That changed everything. At home that evening, Daniel spoke to Micah in the quiet kitchen, the science kit back on the shelf, the ribbon taped to a cork board. "What happened to you was not your fault," he said again, because important truths like to be repeated. "You did the right things. You asked for help. You stayed polite. You breathed. You are safe and loved." Michael listened with his whole face and then asked if they could make lemonade. They did. They sat together with 2 glasses, the same way they had sat together in the office that day, sharing breath and steady words. Before bed, Micah took one of the donated kits from the extra box and placed it by the door. "For tomorrow," he said. "For the community center." Daniel nodded and felt that quiet pride again, the one that rests behind the ribs and warms the hands. He thought about how change often begins, not with a headline, but with a small human choice, repeated on purpose, shared with care. The next weekend, they walked through the mall once more. The corridor was the same corridor, tiles, lights, a poster for a sale, but it felt like a place that remembered what it had learned. A toddler giggled in a stroller. A teen held the door for an older couple. A staff member refilled the water cooler in the office. The small banner hung above, steady in the indoor air. Daniel and Micah passed beneath it and went on with their day, as easy as the music drifting from hidden speakers. In the end, the story did not need anger to be strong. It needed truth, steady voices, and actions that matched the words. It needed a father who stood with calm between a fast hand and a small boy, a manager who chose learning over show, a guard who used gentle skills, a woman who faced her mistake and practiced a better step, and a child who kept his curiosity bright. The mall did not become perfect. It became kinder. That was enough to change many next moments. And when next moments arrive, as they always do, there will be signs, there will be scripts, there will be people ready to look again, and there will be a boy who remembers that his dignity was protected, that his breath could steady, and that a whole community learned to keep public spaces safe for small hands and big dreams.